Hey folks, welcome back, and we're back to work on the Stockyard here. And I've done an overview of the Stockyard on some other videos, so I won't go too deep into it, but as you can tell, a little bit of TLC needed here. I want to start with our two little gates here. I've already taken those off. You may notice if you look at some of the previous videos that these were actually bent a little bit. Well, I've taken the padded pair of pliers and have bent it back in position. Unfortunately, the paint, as you can tell, cracked a little bit on us. It's 50, 60-year-old paint. It's not going to last to a lot of, I guess, torsion. So I'm going to take these. I'm going to dip them in some simple green, take the paint off, and give it a quick paint job. The yellow paint that I picked before matches up really nicely, so I don't think I'm going to have to paint much more than that. It might be just a little bit brighter, but of course, most of this is pretty old. The next thing you may notice, or may not notice, and this is something that I actually failed to take note of when I was buying this particular one, but because it presented a project that shouldn't be too terribly hard, I went ahead with it and didn't complain. So right here is missing something. You see, there's a piece of the mat that's not missing. Well, your cows rely on this little mat to provide the vibration so that they will either circle up in here, and then when the gate opens up, they'll go up here. Well, without this mat, they stop right there. So we needed to find something that's a decent facsimile. There's some people that sell some reproductions of these, which you can buy, and I think they're range anywhere between $20 to $30. Just depends on how much you want to spend, and then some shipping tapped on top of that. I thought, well, there's got to be, because this mat otherwise functions, there's got to be a cost-effective way of replacing the mat without either buying a whole other Stockyard or without going to the mail order route for a brand new one. And a friend of mine recommended some emery paper. Well, I found some black emery paper. It's about 400 grit, so it's pretty easy going. It's not going to stick too hard. So it's fairly light green sandpaper or emery paper. And what I did was I cut it down to an angle that's designed to fit. Designed to fit right into the groove here. So I'll kind of show you what I mean here if I can find the piece that I cut. And so we take a new piece, kind of like this, and I just kind of cut it to shape, as you can tell. Right there. And what we'll do is we'll just glue just piece to piece there, and keeping in mind that this is supposed to ride free, so it'll vibrate and deliver the cows to the right place. So that's one thing we'll do right here. The other thing was the paint, which I mentioned before. Now these things, kind of the standard sheet metal or stamp metal type of thing. These are held in by tabs, a little bit of twist, and it came right out. Now I don't intend to take the rest of this apart, really. You can see right there a little bit of paint scratch or whatever that is. It might take some touch up. But for the most part, the paint's in decent shape. Some staining here. I tried to clean that out a little bit, but it's pretty much, it's on there. I might try to play around with it a little bit, or potentially put another coat of paint on there. I'm not sure just yet. And then the rest of this just needs to be kind of disassembled and cleaned up. So that's what we'll do. I don't know that I'm going to go for a total disassembly, but I do want to get the mat off. The other thing I want to play around with a little bit is how to clean, because you can tell that mat's a little bit dirty and dusty, and it's not, I don't know if it's helping or hurting the vibration. I guess it wouldn't be vibration, it would be the friction on the bottom of the cows. And in this case, since we're using a new material, that being the paint pads, what we want to do is make sure that we're getting good vibration here. Hats off to the Beach Boys. So I'm going to take this apart about as far as I dare to. And you can look in here, and our standard American Flyer solenoid. A little bit of window work needs to get cleaned up here. I have the replacement windows for it, so we'll put those back up when the time comes. And this one's not going to be too hard. It's not a very complex piece of machinery here, so yeah, that'll do it. So I'll take her apart, strip it down, And then what I might do is play around with a little bit of isopropyl alcohol just in a spot here and see if it cleans it up without killing the friction properties of our mat there. All right, so next thing you see should be a completely disassembled Stockyard. Got the Stockyard 100% disassembled, and I'm going to walk you through the parts here real quick, so forgive the mess, but I did want to make sure I showed all the parts off here. So I took the mat and I gave it a nice, very gentle cleaning with some water and dish soap, and you can tell the dirt and staining has gotten a little bit better. Not as good as, this is the back side, that was kind of the original color, as you can see. Certainly still some dust and dirt on there or something worn in, but I'm reluctant to go too hard on this just because I don't trust the material to hold up. But it certainly looks better, and I like that I can see the fibers in here, which tell me that when it vibrates, it should get a little bit more friction with our cows. Other parts and pieces over here continuing to do their thing. I did take and repaint, as I mentioned, the gates here, and those came up really nicely. And of course, the paint match is nice. I also redid this piece right here. I guess this is the load tray or whatever, I guess, terminology you want to use. And it looks pretty nice too. Now, I opted not to pull off the fencing just based off the experience I had with these pieces over here, because I didn't want to go through a repaint for all this, because frankly the paint's actually in pretty good shape, and given the fact that just a little bit of tweaking and torquing of the fence pieces I had caused it to crack, I just didn't want to do excessive damage. Yeah, why take something apart, break it up if you don't need to? So, and this is just your standard vibrating piece here with the rubber knobs. Those of you who have watched the Seaboard Brakeman work I did, this is really just the same kind of a deal here. So it sits on the mat and it vibrates. But all coming together pretty good. A lot of just kind of soap and water is what's what went into this, and a little bit of cleanup and a little bit of paint. So I'm pretty happy with this. There's a little bit of wear and tear here, but to be honest with you, I don't know that I want to go in and kind of do a repaint on all the green stuff, mainly because Matt is going to sit on this, so most of this will be invisible, and just basic wear, tear, friction is going to get into that. So I think I am pretty happy with where everything is paint-wise. So I'm going to start and do some reassembly. Now, the first thing I got to do, as I mentioned before, is tack on our new ramp vibrating mat piece here. So we'll figure out what that looks like here in just a moment. And I want to make sure it works for us before I go too much further in. So I'll put that on and then let the glue dry a little bit and take a video and see if it's back together at least well enough to do a little test. And so finding out that a little cleaning helps. So check this out. Cow moving along pretty well and moving naturally towards its supposed to go. So it's moving pretty well. So I'm going to open up the gate here and kind of show you what else I've discovered. So, unfortunately, our cows are not going up the little ramp here. Well, so I'm kind of playing around with it a little bit. Put it off to the right, just kind of show you what I think's going on here. The sandpaper might be messing with the directionality of the little pads underneath, so check this out. So there, it's moving a little bit forward, but not enough forward, I guess. So I think what's going on is the sandpaper is just creating some weird effects. So maybe play around with. I may have to play around with the directionality or with how the sandpaper sits. Maybe try to get different effects. Otherwise, I'm going to go try and find some more of this material, which would be the most ideal. So it's working, just not quite as well as I think we would like. So I'm going to keep on playing around with this material and see if I can find something maybe that works a little better, or maybe a different kind of cut of the sandpaper. Alright, so some unfortunate news on the rebuild here. So this is the piece that we had on our little ramp here, and obviously it wasn't working very well. So I went out and I tried to buy some options paper-wise, and what I came up with was something. I tried to find something that was fairly close, had a similar amount of kind of roughness there, and I found this particular paper here. This is a both of these is Cardstock. I picked it up at the local hobby store, and let's see. So this is the Papier Cardstock Recollections, and that gives you the kind of the tear weight there and the dimensions. So that's the first one I'm going to try out and cut these out. Next one, I went with Martha Stewart style cardstock, and don't necessarily have roughness on that, but this is a little bit more thick and rigid. Matches kind of the rigidity of this thing here, but this one is a bit more, has a bit more friction to it. So yeah, I'll try them both out, see what they do. All right, got the test sheet number 1 on here. This is the 65-pound tear weight paper, and we'll see what we can do. I'm gonna hook her up here and see if we can get the cow to climb up our ramp. Yeah, that's not good. Okay, so wouldn't climb up there without some prompting, and of course this ramp is supposed to be a little higher to get him into the cattle car. So I don't think this is the right one. All right, we're gonna try paper number 2. All right, let's give paper number 2 a try here, and I've tacked it down with a little bit of rubber cement just to make sure it's got good contact going. And it's all right. Keep your fingers crossed. Here we go. Okay. There it goes, all right. Let's get him up that ramp. Oh, come on, little cow. Oh, no. Well, 0 for 2. All right. We're going to have to go back to the drawing board, I think. See if we can find something better. So I bit the bullet and I went out and bought an original American Flyer ramp from Portland Hobbies, and he was nice enough to send that to me with free shipping, so thank you. But the same effects ended up having here, so the frustration continues. Not real sure what's going on here. Well, friends, we have gotten to a bit of a stop point for now, and let me tell you why for just a second. So this video has taken a little time to get out because of some good stuff for me professionally, but some not so good stuff when it comes to working on trains, which is obviously my passion, but not what pays the bills. So I'm going to be taking off for a little while. And so I'm going to kind of leave you guys with a bit of a cliffhanger. And where we are right now, so I went to Doug Peck and bought a new ramp, which is right here. And unfortunately, I got a little bit of the same effect as I did with the other papers. Here's test paper 1. This is the emery paper that didn't work. This is some of our other paper here, and I was using the other one here to see if maybe there's some friction points here I could mitigate. It wasn't working so well, but here's test paper number 2, which you can kind of see some of the I guess pattern or whatever on the paper there. But none of those really worked. None of these have worked at all. And I've tooled around with the solenoid here just to see if I can't get that to vibrate a little harder and to no effect. And so I think it's down to something wrong with the mat as a whole. And there may be some some friction points, or it's not really going the way it needs to. Something's catching it up. I've looked just a bit to see if there isn't some points maybe behind the mat. So there's a little tab there. You can kind of see it now with this mat, with this tab, and unfortunately, it looks like Mr. Peck sent me a, this tab that he sent me, or the ramp that he sent me, is it's not a great cut. And I tried to get it on there as evenly as I could down here, but what it means is it's really kind of leaning up against the side here. So that might be part of the problem. The other problem might be, if I can lift this up gently, you can see the little lip down here. There's some kind of sticky stuff on the bottom of it. That's probably causing some friction, but it's pretty dried up, so it's not like tacky. So lots of possibilities, but unfortunately I am out of time. So Johnny Flyer fans, I am going to leave you guys with a bit of a cliffhanger, and the cows will not be coming home this year. So I'm going to be signing off for about 12 months, and I'll come back and jump right back on this project, as well as about a dozen others which are currently sitting in the wait line, and can't wait to show those to you. But thanks very much for watching, everybody, and I look forward to talking to you all soon in about a year. Thanks.